Alrighty, good afternoon. I am coming to you with a weekly live and going to be talking today about the hierarchy of nutrition. It's going to be more around the importance of nutrition around, training to develop performance or based on performance. So if you are watching live, of course, give me a thumbs up, or if you have any questions, I'm going to keep an eye on my screen down here as well, and I can get back to them in real time. Otherwise, just chuck replay in the comment section below, and any questions I'll be sure to get back to as well. So thank you for watching. If you are on live, the very first live I kind of spoke about in this group when I was talking about, 2.0 of doing Facebook Lives, we spoke about the hierarchy of the importance of nutrition around your meal timing, supplementation, the actual, calories versus macronutrients, what's important, what's not. And of course, this is always going to be dependent on your goals. We have actually just wrapped up a round of our 28-day challenge, and that being a 28-day program which basically gives an eating plan, it gives the training, and it gives the accountability and the support to build those strong foundational patterns and habits. But we've had a lot of clients come and sort of ask, well, what's next? I've got these incredible results, or I feel like I've really created some awesome habits around my nutrition, but they're ready to take it that next step. So that's why today I'm talking about workout nutrition and how nutrition can actually have an effect or an impact on our performance within training and outside of training, so to do with recovery as well. So going to be talking today to that topic, and one of the things that I shared in a post last week was just a really quick tip around nutrition, and that being consume carbs pre-workout and then try and consume protein post-workout. The research actually really does speak more to restoring those glycogen stores post-workout to help rebuild the muscle. So depending on what your goals are, today I'm going to be talking about performance. So we want to make sure that we are able to fuel our body to get the best out of our sessions, which in turn creates better results anyway, because we're able to build the muscle and then eating to fuel that muscle that we have broken down throughout the session then allows us to recover and rebuild that muscle to then what many want to do, we want to create that toned look. And we all know, or if you don't know, then by now we do know that it is an increase in muscle mass allows our metabolic rate to increase, which means that over a 24-hour period our body is actually burning more calories. And ideally that's what we want to do. We want to be able to have a higher base rate, so we want our bodies to be able to consume and burn more calories throughout the day so that we can just enjoy life, right? And that's how we feel our best. We don't want to be feeling like we have to be constantly restricting or constantly trying to watch what we eat in order to stay in shape. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for increasing muscle mass, because that not only increases our metabolic rate, it increases our our aesthetics as well, which really increases in confidence. And that's the main thing that I think everyone deserves to feel, is a little bit of confidence within themselves. So sorry, I digress. We're going to get back on topic. The hierarchy of nutrition based on performance, and that meal timing around your training. So if we're going to be talking about just a general session, I'm going to be using the sessions that we do in studio here. We're looking anywhere from 40 to 50, 55 minutes. So I wouldn't class that as an endurance session, which means that what we want to focus on is the pre and post workout nutrition, so carbohydrates, fats. We do ideally want to keep carbohydrates and protein, we do ideally want to keep fats away from the training session. Because if we think about having a high fat meal prior to training, then what happens is the fats actually take longer time to break down within the body, which means that we are basically having that fuller feeling going into the training session, and it can sometimes lead to, you know, feeling unwell. So if you've ever had a, you know, poached eggs and avocado on toast as your pre-workout, and then you felt like that's a little bit heavy to have, as opposed to trying, say, 4 rice cakes with jam, that's a lot easier. It's a higher glycemic index, which means it's a lot easier to break down. It's faster to break down, and our body doesn't hold on to that for quite as long. It's also beneficial to have high GI foods beforehand, as it releases the energy a little bit quicker as well, which means that we can use that energy to burn through and really perform within that workout. Ideally, what you want to be doing is having your high glycemic index, so high GI carbohydrates, before about an hour or two before your session. And then we're looking for, you know, around that 20 sort of grams of fructose. So a really good pre-workout snack, as I did share, is something like we had, you know, bananas on rice cakes or something like that. So that's a really easy to digest meal. We've got 20 grams of fructose, which is the sugar that comes from fruit, because that really helps to get into the muscle nice and quick, and it aids with preventing that sort of fatigue kicking in from the start as well. Then what the 20 grams of sugar from fruit, so the fructose actually aids in, is keeping those blood sugar levels even throughout the workout, so that we aren't feeling that sort of drop in energy as we're moving through. Then post-workout, what we want to focus on is, yes, protein, because ideally to be continually recovering and building that muscle, we want to be sort of switching on that protein synthesis every, you know, 4 to 5 hours. So ideally, if we can be having a protein hit of at least, you know, 25 to 30 grams or up to 40 grams, depending on the individual, then we are able to be within that protein synthesis window. Now, the more often that, you know, we can be switching that protein synthesis on, then that means the less likely we are to be experiencing muscle breakdown, which is ideally what we want to do. So we want to be able to preserve the muscle that we're building. And then with the protein post-workout, this can be anywhere. Like if you're not somebody who does feel, you know, hungry post-workout, or feel like you can actually stomach something, then depending how long prior to your workout you had that sort of increase of 25 to 30 grams of protein, it will actually still be within that window for up to 4 hours. So if you did have, you know, a high protein hit at lunch and then you wanted to train in the afternoon, you know, just a couple hours later, don't feel like you have to quickly go and smash down a protein shake, because you're supposed to have it within an hour. The new research is actually showing that it does last for, you know, up to that 4 hour window. So long as we're having it within that block, then that is optimal for recovery. Then we want to partner that protein with, again, a high GI carb. So these are your things that, you know, a lot of the time we're seen as like bad foods or bad choices. But again, I really want to go into this next phase for anybody who has done the 28-day program, going into this next phase, that there is no rules around good and bad food. I don't feel like there are any foods that we should have to eliminate, unless of course you've got intolerances. But if we can change our mindset around food and our relationship to food, then this is what's going to actually be a prolonged result. This is what's going to allow people to have the confidence, you know, reduce anxieties around food, and just be able to live a more fulfilling life. So things like lollies, white bread, white rice, you know, sugary carbs, like even some cereals which are quite high in sugar, if we can have them post-workout, it's going to increase the muscle glycogen stores, and that is ultimately what draws blood to the muscles, which is what kickstarts that recovery phase. So the best thing that we can do post-workout is also look at prioritizing those high sugary sort of non-complex carbs, those carbs that are going to be easy to break down. So things like honey, fruit, yes, but it's although it is high in fructose, it's quite high in fiber, so it actually almost balances it out. So this is where you can enjoy some lolly snakes. You can enjoy your ice cream or your chocolate milkshake or whatever the case is. Having that within the sort of hour 45 hour break after your workout allows that to get straight to the muscles, which then the sugar is actually what draws the blood to the muscles and then creates that recovery process. So, and ultimately, the faster we can start the recovery process, then the faster we can actually be recovered and not feeling that soreness as long. So really, I think changing our mindset, coming from a challenge or coming from a 28-day program, to then be able to step away from having to follow an eating plan to feel like you're eating well, to be able to just like live life, right? So going into it, the mindset that all foods have a purpose, and there is no particular food that is good or bad that you should or shouldn't have, because that is what really can create a poor relationship with food, and it can lead to the yo-yo dieting, which a lot of women do experience. So, and the biggest thing about Fitness 360 is sustainability. So we really want to obviously welcome you in to a program, welcome you into a challenge, but then teach you how to maintain the results you've achieved, or if you've got some more work to do, coach you through that as well. So that would be and obviously you can have your intra-workout nutrition as well, which, like I said, just talking on the session periods or times that we do here, the only time an intra-workout carb or something would be needed would be for endurance athletes. So this is like marathon running, anything, 1.5 to 2 hours long. Maybe then you might want to start to have some carbs, which could literally just be, the little like squeezy packs, which are pretty much just syrup. So maybe a couple of leaf snakes as well. It's just like a hit of sugar and glucose to basically bump that energy and stop the sort of fatigue kicking in. One of the really interesting things that I found is so caffeine, it actually is good. Caffeine actually stops the I'm trying to think of what that hormone is. Adenosine, which is what creates the fatigued feeling. So caffeine actually blocks that, and then that is how it just stops the fatigue kicking in quite as early. So caffeine pre-workout, maybe an hour to 45 minutes beforehand, can also help the fatigue from kicking in, as opposed to not having the caffeine pre-workout. Then it just means that if you are already feeling tired or lethargic or whatever, that the fatigue could potentially kick in a little bit easier, as that adenosine isn't blocking that level of fatigue. So this is like I said, when we spoke in the very first live, the hierarchy of importance, so around your nutrition, depending on your goals. I spoke more about weight loss, and that being, calories first. So let's always make sure that we are eating the right amount of calories for your goal. Then we look at macronutrients, and this is something that obviously the program, our 28-day program, does touch on. And then we can look at the nutrient timing. So what I spoke about today, being the pre, the post, and the intra-workout nutrition, and any other supplements around that. So when we're talking about pre-workouts, I know some clients already are having that. but the, you know, post-workout shakes and things like that, this is kind of that next level. So for anybody who has, you know, been within the fitness space or they've achieved specific results, they're looking to either up the ante or see what's next to maintain it, then this is what this live is sort of touching on. So I hope it has given a little bit of value to anybody who wanted that slightly in-depth understanding around nutrition with your training and based on your performance. If you did get any tips, please let me know. I always get a little bit worried that I'm not giving it out in the best way or most understandable, but I hope I spoke in some terms that made sense today. If you do have any questions, then of course always please let me know, or shoot me a message if you want to talk on this topic any further. All right, we'll see you next week.